What's up YouTube? This is Dan here from How To Skateboards, and today we're going to talk about how to skateboard on flat ground. What we're really going to talk about today is some of the tricks you should try when you're first starting to get into skateboarding, starting to learn some tricks. We're going to talk about where to start, how to get better, how to level your way up, and what you should be working on. The most important thing with flat ground skating or just skateboarding in general is getting comfortable pushing around. If you're not comfortable pushing around, you need to spend more time skating. You need to be comfortable riding your board before you can do any tricks. Then from there, you want to learn some of the basic maneuvers, the tic-tac. You want to learn how to apply pressure to your tail and whatnot, because that is foundational to any maneuver, especially the ollie. When it comes to skateboarding on flat ground and learning tricks, the most foundational trick that you really need to prioritize working on and practicing is the ollie. And I'll say, even when you've been skating for a couple years, your ollie can still get better. So an ollie is something that you can constantly be working on. So before we talk further about that, hit the link in the description if you haven't already to watch our video on how to ollie. You're going to want to learn how to ollie. That's the most important thing with skateboarding. Now, while you work on learning how to ollie, here's a few tricks you can also learn just to make sure you're still having fun skating and to give you a good sense of board control. First, we got the manual, which is essentially just the wheelie. All you're going to do is lift up your front truck, ride the board on two wheels, try and balance for as long as possible. The key thing to doing a manual and holding it out is to lift up your front knee, release some pressure from that front foot, apply a little to the back foot, stand up pretty tall, and just hold your position. Hold, freeze it. Try not to move your body around too much and just stay balanced on the two wheels. That's something fun you can work on. The better you have manual balance, the better you have balance on your skateboard, period. Two other tricks you could work on that do not require the ollie is a shove it and a fakie big spin. Now we're gonna make separate videos on how to actually do all these tricks, but the reason the fakie big spin, the shove it are something you can do without an ollie is because you don't have to pop. You don't have to scrape your tail against the ground. All you're doing with the board is scooping it around. You're digging your toes underneath the board and shuffling it around. Those are some fun beginner flat ground tricks you can work on as you work on progressing your ollie. Now here are some tips that are going to help you get better at ollies. First and foremost, when it comes to an ollie, the way to get your ollies to be held out longer and further or higher is to set a goal for yourself. Now learn your first ollie stationary, but what you're really going to want to push yourself to do is learn your ollies rolling, because that's important to all parts of skating. So start off by setting up something like a broomstick, a hockey stick, a baseball bat, I don't know, and try an ollie over that once you've got the hang of your stationary ollie. Then level it up further. You can start trying to ollie over a board, ollie over two boards. And what you'll learn quickly soon is that there's a big difference between ollieing for distance and ollieing for height. When ollieing for distance, speed is an important factor, but also the momentum of your jump. You need to be carrying your upper body forward. When it comes to ollieing for height, a big part of that is just being very explosive. What I like to do before doing a high ollie, I press down a ton of weight on my front foot. Then I pop by scraping the tail. All that energy that was pressed down on my front foot gets released super quickly. You need to be very explosive, and that way you'll get a pretty high ollie. So keep working on ollies, level your way up. That's super important to flat ground skateboarding for beginners. Once you have down the ollie, there's a couple tricks you can learn before you start flipping the board around. Frontside 180s, backside 180s, and fakie 180s are great tricks to practice your ollie and your overall board control. 180s are all about popping a good ollie, but then also turning your shoulders in the direction that you want to go, and using your front foot and back foot to work together and guide the board around. You might find fakie 180s to be a little easier just because your momentum is already going in your favor. And typically once you pop a fakie 180, it's really your front foot that's doing most of the work guiding that board around. When it comes to backside 180s, frontside 180s, what you'll find is that your front foot and back foot work together to bring the board around, and you got to be comfortable landing back fakie. So those are good tricks to practice your board control. Another trick you can learn before you start flipping the board around is a pop shove it. And if you already learned the shove it, these are very easy to take from there. What you'll probably realize quickly is that the backside pop shove it is a lot easier than the front side pop shove it. Because the front side pop shove it, you're pretty blind to where the board's going. You have to be very confident and have a high level of commitment. With the backside pop shove it, you can watch the board the entire time. For both the backside and front side, foot position is very different, but similar at the same time. With the backside pop shove it, your back foot is gonna wanna hang the toe off the board, and your front foot, you're gonna wanna have your heel hanging off to make it a little easier. You pop the board at a slight angle and let it rotate underneath you, doing a little scoop with your back foot. You gotta make sure to pop the board, and it's easiest to catch these with your front foot. Front side shove, it's the opposite. You'll probably wanna have your back foot with the toes either centered on the board or in that back pocket with your heel hanging off, and then it can be very helpful to hang your toes off the board with your front foot. We're gonna make more in-depth tutorials on how to do all these tricks individually, but those are just a couple things you could work on before you start flipping the board, doing kick flips and heel flips. Now a brief overview of kickflips and heel flips. Those are the first two flip tricks you'll probably want to learn, and you'll probably find that one is a lot easier than the other. It's whatever is more natural to you. If you're more comfortable riding with your shoulders open and your shoulders facing forward with both feet on the board, the kickflip is probably the right trick for you. If you're more comfortable skating sideways with your shoulders parallel with the board, then a heel flip will probably be easier for you. Both tricks require you to have a good ollie and get a strong pop. You cannot perform a good kickflip or heel flip without a solid pop, and you need to have the ollies down very well. I would not try these tricks yet if you can't ollie more than 6 inches off the ground. Both tricks are just an ollie with a flick at the end of it. So with the heel flip, you're either using your heel or your pinky toe. I use my pinky toe on regular heel flips, my heel on nollie heel flips. So you'll pop the board, you're gonna kind of twist your ankle inward, and your foot, as you ollie and take air, it's gonna graze off the corner of the board to make it flip. Similar with a kick flip, you pop the board like an ollie as you normally would, slide your foot, but it's gonna graze off the side of the board on this inner edge here, and that's gonna cause the board to rotate. With a heel flip, I like to graze the board with my pinky toe. With a kick flip, you probably want to use more of your big toe. In both instances, you're flicking off the end of the board, and that's what causes it to flip. We're gonna make more in-depth tutorials on all of these, but the biggest thing is, your flat ground skating, get comfortable with ollies first before you start flipping the board around. And on top of that, don't give up. Go out there, practice every day, practice as often as you can, and you're gonna see little bits of progress over time. If you have any questions about how to skateboard on flat ground for beginners, drop a comment below and we'll be happy to address it. And if you're looking for a new skateboard, we got plenty on howtoskateboards.com. We got completes. We've also got our own boards that we make just like these. We got shaped decks like this snake here that I ride, as well as popsicles. So check it out. Head over to howtoskateboards.com.